We're four friends who live across the globe
and share a love of Bon Appétit's YouTube channel.
So we came together to bring you our thoughts on what BA serves up.
And try our hands at recreating their dishes.
Welcome to Pod Appétit.
Hey, it's Justine.
And it's me, Meg. It is just the two of us again.
Of us can make it if we try.
Just the two of us. You and I.
Oh, people turned it off already.
Yes, we kicked LJ and Amanda out of the band. Just kidding. They
No,
just couldn't join us this week. We would never. But they will be joining us again soon, of course, and they're here in spirit. But yes, welcome back to another episode of Pod Appétit. Before we go into recapping the videos, we're going to talk about what we've been cooking, baking, all that good stuff. So Justine, it sounds like you've been quite busy in the kitchen.
Oh, yes, very much so. I've made a couple things, not necessarily BA, but somewhat BA inspired, as I'll get to that. First, I want to mention vegan carrot muffins, because I had carrots. I made naan from scratch. I got a hold of some flour.
Very nice.
Yes. And Friday night, I made a vegan garlic mac and cheese with caramelized onions because of Claire.
Ooh.
I finally made the mac and cheese, and it
Oh,
was
that's great.
so effing delicious. It was so good. It was a lot of mac and cheese. To make the vegan cheese sauce, you do it in a skillet with high edges because you're just heating up essentially almond milk with other things, and then you blend it to get thickness, and then you put it all together in that roasting pan with the layers and layering my caramelized onions, and then with my panko on top. Oh, it was so good. It's so good.
It sounds delicious.
It was
Caramelized
so good.
onions, crunchy breadcrumbs.
Yeah. So that's what I've been up to, just swimming in delicious mac and cheese. How about you?
As far as Bon Appetit recipes go, I finally made that no-knead focaccia. And it is so good. I can't tell you how good it is. I love it. So this was Basically's shockingly easy no-knead focaccia. It was part of the Basically Baking Challenge. I know that LJ made it previously. You can check out our Instagram and see the stories of her making that. So I made this. The only change I made to the recipe was that I added some fresh rosemary to the last step. Yeah, there's a very last step where you melt some butter and you grate some garlic into it, heat it up. And during that step, I added some fresh rosemary and brushed it all on top. I think it was a great addition. Rosemary with focaccia is perfect. So I still have some left over today. I'm probably going to use it to make some kind of breakfast sandwich after we're done recording.
Oh,
here.
yeah. I was going to say sandwich.
Yes. A nice sunny side up egg. It'll be really good.
Ooh, man, we are killing it.
Go us.
Yeah.
All right, so on the menu for today's episode, we have Pro Chefs Make 8 Types of Grilled Cheese, Test Kitchen Talks at Home, Pro Chefs Rate Foods from 1 to 100, Test Kitchen Talks at Home, Brad Makes Fermented Mushrooms, It's Alive at Home, Pastry Chef Attempts to Make Gourmet Choco Tacos, Part 1, Gourmet Makes, Brad Makes Brussels Sprout Kimchi, It's Alive, Pastry Chef Attempts to Make Gourmet Choco Tacos Part 2, Gourmet Makes. Pastry Chef Remakes Gourmet Pop-Tarts at Home, Gourmet Remakes. And finally, Pro Chefs Make 8 Different Freezer Meals, Test Kitchen Talks at Home. So not as many as last time.
No, we had a holiday.
All right, so let's kick it off with Pro Chefs Make 8 Types of Grilled Cheese, Test Kitchen Talks at Home.
Okay, my mind is blown.
By what?
The mayo.
Oh, the mayo.
I didn't know.
I was introduced to BA's Pro Mayo on grilled cheese sandwich stance when I made Molly's value-added grilled cheese. This is a Basically recipe, and in that recipe, she talks about using mayo instead of butter and the cold pan method. So I am kind of a mayo on grilled cheese convert. I like it because it's just really easy to get nice, even coverage across the whole piece of bread. I don't often have room temperature butter just ready to go. As much as I like the taste of butter over mayo, mayo's a lot easier, a lot quicker, and it still gives you the oil that you need. And it's got a slight tanginess, which is nice. And they talked in the video that you get a very crispy bread with mayo. I don't know if I've been able to tell a difference in crispiness, but it's very crispy. Crispier than butter? I don't know. You should try it, I think.
I'd like to, although who said it? Was it Garla?
Oh, that the egg makes
Claire?
it crispy.
Yeah, it's that they're like, the crucial thing is the egg. Well, my Vegenaise, of course, doesn't come with egg in it. Although, yeah, it is, mostly oil, like most mayonnaises. I don't know. I could try it. It could experiment.
Yeah, you might not get the same crispiness, but like you said, it would give you the oil you needed. So they also talked about diagonal versus horizontal cut. Diagonal won out by a fairly large margin.
Although Emil's had the long bread and still cut it at a diagonal for some reason. I don't know. I feel like
right.
Bread shape determines, first of all, how you're cutting it.
I think so too. I think if Molly had not had such a huge long piece of bread, I think that she also would have cut it on the diagonal. But I think it made sense for Molly to do hers horizontal with that long piece of bread. So Justine and I, before we're recording, we're talking about delving into Reddit and internet opinions and things like that. And I will say that the internet has very strong opinions about what makes a grilled cheese versus what is a melt. So real big grilled cheese purists say that the only thing you can have on a grilled cheese is bread and cheese, and then butter or whatever you need to cook it in the pan. So technically, according to some people on the internet, not a single person in this video made a grilled cheese. They all made melts because they all added something to the sandwich. But that's not necessarily my stance. I'm just throwing that out there.
Wow. No, I've heard of lots of people who make grilled cheeses with stuff.
Yes, but some would argue that that's not grilled cheese, that it's a melt.
What is a melt?
Anything that has additional ingredients.
Well, that's just not as fun.
I know, right? You want to add stuff. I thought all of these looked really good except for Emil's. Emil's was the one where I was like, that's not grilled cheese. There was no cheese pull. It was like a tuna melt.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. It's always Emil. Always Emil just throwing the wacky thing out there.
Always Emil with his weird stuff and his beans taped to his fridge.
Oh, yeah. His little, bean chart.
Just scotch taped on up there.
He collects beans. He's a bean collector. Or somebody in his household is.
I guess so. I liked Claire's and Brad's sandwiches because I think that tomato on a grilled cheese sandwich is excellent.
I like that Claire's took 40 minutes or something.
Okay. I don't know why it took her that long because, again, going back to Molly's value-added grilled cheese, she uses the cold pan method. So that's how I've been doing grilled cheese. And it takes 10 to 11 minutes for me anyway. I don't know why it takes Claire 30 minutes, but...
She's wonderful.
Chris mentioned in this video the Borough Market raclette guy in London. And I was like, I've been there. I got that raclette. It's super good. Everyone told me to try the raclette because it's just this huge thing of cheese and they kind of slide off this huge melty. It's so good. I don't know how to describe it.
Speaking of Chris, I love him teaching his son proper cooking, teaching young kids how to cook. My parents were never turn on a stove.
I thought it was pretty funny because Chris used his Chris voice that you see in the test kitchen. It's like he was talking to his kid all as though he was, a colleague / peer.
Yeah.
So he definitely doesn't talk down when it comes to food, it seems like.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Carla was just trying to get Cosmo out of her kitchen. She's like, go away, please.
I love Carla, as we'll get on to it. Carla's just running a restaurant 24/7.
It's a tricky situation. Sorry, that's just what Cosmo said. All right, next video. Pro chefs rate foods from 1 to 100. Test kitchen talks at home. Whoever said, why isn't this a scale from 1 to 10? I agree. Why is this not a scale from 1 to 10? This is needlessly complicated.
It's complicated, but it is funny.
It's funny because you get Brad saying things like 72 3/4.
Yeah. And fighting with Gabby.
He was like, Gabby, just give the rating.
She's like, I like it. She's like, that's not the assignment. The assignment is to give a number.
Brad trying to keep her on track. I think that Gabby was definitely the star of this video and spawned a whole bunch of fan-made t-shirts because she gave Raisins a perfect 100 and she said, give Raisins a chance. And she requested a t-shirt. And boy, did the internet deliver in spades. I think I saw at least 5 different designs.
T-shirts were made.
They were made. I hope they got some to her.
When they first posted this video, I think my immediate reaction was like, what? What is this? They've gone off the rails in terms of content.
I think it was, another opportunity to get them to try to argue with each other. I knew that they would have green bell peppers. I knew that they would have sumac because they like to argue about those things.
I'm sick of the sumac.
I am sick of the sumac too. I thought that we had finally put Sumac Gate to bed with whatever that last video was, but we're rehashing it again. Can we stop beating this dead horse, please? We get it.
Yes, seriously.
We know everyone's reasons now. We know who sides with whom.
Yeah, done with it. Leave it alone. But Mayo coming out victor again. It was like back to back, like, Mayo, why aren't you sponsored by Hellmann's? Like,
oh, I know, right?
It's like they're getting money from all these sponsors when they should. When they're just giving away Hellmann's money for free,
That's true. They should get on that sponsorship. That makes sense. I'm tempted to have us go through and rate, but that might take too long.
I don't think it would take too long, except I don't know if I'd give numbers. Giving the numbers is the hard part.
It's true.
It's either like I like it or I don't like it.
Yeah, so this was their ranking from worst to best. Worst, bell pepper, milk, white chocolate, pineapple on pizza, nuts and brownies, black licorice, raisins, sumac, OJ with pulp, and mayo getting first place because almost all of them gave it a perfect 100.
Yeah. I think the black licorice surprised me.
I liked what Claire said. She said it's kind of like cilantro. You either have the gene or you don't. It's sort of binary. It seems like people either really like black licorice or really hate black licorice. I'm one of the people who love black licorice.
Wow. Yeah. Ugh.
It's so good. Nom, 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 nom.
Oh my God. I loved the pairing of Rick and Emil.
They were an excellent pairing.
Like, have we never had this pairing before? It's all I want now.
Another pairing that I really liked that I also want more of is Christina and Sola.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, they were really in lockstep in this video. They seemed to be having a lot of fun. So yes, more Sola and Christina, more Emil and Rick. And I liked that Emil and Rick acknowledged that the conceit of the video was to get them to argue with each other.
Yeah.
And they're just like, we're not going to argue. We still love you, even though you have a different opinion than I do.
I love it. Yes, it's what I want. I like that attitude.
Yeah, definitely. And Emil was spot on when he said that Rick won the quarantine lottery. For reals. Rick is like stranded in paradise with his fresh papaya tree.
Yeah, legit. Like, oh, I just got these lovely ladies from the market giving me things and da da da.
Go, Rick. All right, next we have Brad makes fermented mushrooms. It's live at home.
So many It's Alives. So many It's Alives. They're just like, Brad's like, I got it. I'm holding up this fort of Bon Appetit.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. And I was thinking about that a little. And it's just that Brad is always so Brad that it's not like it's very different than the content he creates for It's Alive in the test kitchen. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't tend to use weird ingredients. Oh, I take that back. But when I say weird ingredients, I mean ingredients that are hard for the home chef to acquire. I feel like Brad typically uses ingredients that are pretty easy to find, except for like his elk meat or whatever.
Yeah, but if you watch his Instagram, he gets sent stuff all the time. He gets sent product to like shout out because he's Brad Leone now.
Yeah, I guess all I was trying to say is that I feel like It's Alive content hasn't changed that much pre and post quarantine. He's still making the same kinds of recipes, the same kinds of dishes. So yeah, I think it just has maybe translated more easily between locations. Maybe they've asked him to therefore produce more content. I don't know.
It's interesting. Only can't go anywhere. Oh my God, Brad's
For
going
sure.
crazy.
Yeah, it's interesting to have two It's Alives in the same batch for comparison, because I feel like in this one, he was a little bit down, maybe a little bit stir crazy, whereas I feel like in the Kimchi episode, he's really upbeat, you know, so day to day, I guess, like everyone else.
Yeah, I think he is a bit down in this one, and all of his things were like going wrong.
Yeah. I was really glad to see that the base of this fermentation was shoyu or soy sauce, because when I saw the thumbnail and I saw that really dark liquid, I thought it was all just from the mushrooms. I thought it was this really dirty, dirty fermentation. So I was a little grossed out at first, but once I saw what the recipe actually was, this sounds pretty good.
Nice. You gonna ferment yourself some mushrooms?
No, I'm afraid of fermentation. Botulism.
Botulism. Hard stance from Meg.
Don't trust myself to ferment something safely, that's all. I would probably do what Brad accidentally did, which is explode some glass.
Mm-hmm.
I guess he didn't explode it. He said that the glass weight got stuck in the jar, and in trying to remove it, he broke the jar. So
Yeah.
And Hunzi's very helpful editorial said, don't eat glass. So,
Don't eat
yeah.
glass.
Don't do that.
We've learned that a few times on Bon Appetit.
We sure have. We get
Well,
more Garla. She returns
oh my
again.
God. The Garla. I think somebody commented, like, this is the best and most creepiest thing to happen in BA quarantine.
You okay, Hunzi?
Yeah.
Hunzi, you okay?
He's not okay. He keeps commenting on Twitter. He's like, guys.
If I didn't want to insult Carla by associating her so strongly with 2020, I would like to say that 2020 should be known as the year of Garla officially.
Mhm.
But I feel like that could
Officially.
be insulting. I don't want to accidentally say that Carla's bad, because that's absolutely not true. But it's Garla, not Carla.
Right. And I think, what did Carla tweeted about Garla? I think she's pro Garla.
I think she is pro Garla. Oh my goodness.
What else happened in this episode?
I liked when Brad was going off about how he wanted mushrooms for buttons. And I was thinking, oh, maybe that's why they're called button mushrooms.
He thinks they're so cute.
He loved those baby shiitakes. He was really
Yeah.
sad that he had to throw them out because of the glass.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
But yeah, speaking of fans making stuff for the chefs, I think that someone should absolutely make those morel mushroom cufflinks he said he wanted. I hope that someone gets that
Yes.
for him. He can have them and live with Fairy Queen Carla with her fruits and grains and mushroom tree in the forest.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I remember, I feel like I keep saying this every time we record. I'm like, I remember like when they first started doing this, how like sane they were. But now every time I'm just like, whoa, you're really just
Now they
getting
just
this.
want to go cry in a laundry basket.
Oh, same.
Moving on to Pastry Chef Attempts to Make Gourmet Choco Tacos, Part 1, Gourmet Makes.
Oh my goodness. So much Claire in our faces happening now.
So many Gourmet Makes episodes this batch.
It's going to keep happening too.
Definitely.
I don't know why they didn't ramp this up sooner, because I feel like the produced content of It's Alive could be balanced by all the produced content of Gourmet Makes.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it does take longer to make a Gourmet Makes episode, probably.
For sure. And there's so much equipment that Claire uses in the test kitchen that I think they kind of had to trial it first to see if it even could be recreatable at home at all. Because she doesn't have the dehydrator. She does have the oven that she can set on a low setting. So yeah, I think they needed to test it first. And if you've been following Bon Appetit online, you'll see that they've been putting a call out to fans to make the Pop-Tarts and the Hot Pockets and the Ferrero Rocher. So yeah, it seems like they have figured out that it works. Claire can do it at home. She's paring down the recipes for people to make them at home. So yeah, we've definitely found the new direction that they are going to take for these quarantine times, I guess.
Yeah.
But that's more in part 2 of Choco Tacos.
Yeah. But expect a buttload of Claire content coming at us.
Yes, for sure. Because we see these call for submissions go out, obviously, weeks before the video hits. So we already know that we can expect a few things for sure.
Okay, but back in the test kitchen with this one, we knew it was happening. It was teased to us. But man, this was an A+ episode. So good. I loved it.
What'd you love about it?
Everything.
Well, I thought this episode was interesting because it had a little bit of, I'd call it, I guess, meta drama, because doing this podcast, we knew that Choco Tacos, something about it didn't turn out. We knew this because Claire had mentioned it before in previous videos. She had said that she tried to finish this Gourmet Makes and had to do it at home, and just basically stuff turned out to be a disaster. So going into this part 1, I felt like I had this extra tension because everything seems to be going so well, but in the back of my mind, I knew something bad was going to happen. So it was kind of just waiting for the other shoe to drop. It was like watching a Hitchcock film, you know, like, when's it gonna happen? Especially since it seems like such a slam dunk of a recipe, right? Because you've got the components, the cone, the ice cream, the chocolate, and we know that Claire can do all of those things individually in her sleep practically.
Yeah. I love when Sola came over at the beginning and was just very in that experimental mode because she was filming that 3 chefs 3 ways at the same time, pretty much.
I really liked Sola's addition to this episode because just suggesting that Claire go with a sort of Mexican flavoring theme, I love that Claire embraced that and rolled with it. Claire said that she had a lot of fun with it from start to finish. And I don't know if she would have had as much fun if she had just been trying to recreate the exact flavors. But by going with this theme of the masa and the Mexican chocolate and the goat's milk caramel, it was kind of like the Ben and Jerry's episode. She got to really be very free with it. So I'm glad that
That's what I liked about it.
Yeah, she really made it gourmet. I think if she had just tried to make vanilla, chocolate, peanut, sugar cone, it would have been probably kind of boring for her.
Yeah, I love the cliffhanger.
Oh, yeah. So if you didn't watch the video, what happened is that the ice cream turned way too soupy and it did not solidify back into the taco shells. And of course, quarantine happened, so she couldn't finish the make itself in the test kitchen.
Right. Do we blame Chris for that? The piping?
I don't think we can blame Chris because Claire could have said, no, I'm not going to pipe it. You know, she doesn't have to do what Chris tells her.
And the piping does make sense. I was like, well, why didn't you just pipe it in the walk-in?
That's a very good point. That's a good point. And also, I thought maybe she could have worn some gloves and that would have insulated the ice cream more and it wouldn't have hurt her poor hands so badly.
Yeah. I feel like when they are actually making Choco Tacos, it's in a cooled environment.
I'm sure that must be the case. And also, these shells were kind of closed at the top. They kind of drooped closed. So I think that it would have been really hard to do anything but pipe the ice cream into that first set of shells. But yes, Claire had a literal meltdown.
Yeah. She's like, I blacked out. Did I say anything? And they were like, yes, Claire.
Yes, Claire, you were muttering to yourself the whole time.
Oh, so good. They brought back the robot.
Oh, I loved the stirring robot.
AKA a C-stand.
AKA John.
John.
Poor John just pretty much had to do the job of an oscillating fan.
Exactly.
Add that to your resume.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right because we knew that there was that added tension. It just made for like a real sort of not fake dramatic episode, but like a real dramatic episode, you know?
Yeah, real tension for sure. And speaking of real tension, I don't know, we had a listener request that we, quote, address some theories on why Claire is treating DELANY so badly. I'm feeling bad for him already. And that comment comes from Jennifer Baptista. So thanks, Jennifer. I thought that this was funny because Claire did seem maybe preemptively annoyed with DELANY in this episode. Although maybe he had done something off camera to pre-annoy her.
Claire has addressed this. I don't know which interview it was, but she's always said like, yeah, but DELANY comes at like the weirdest times and he's always there and he's there a lot and it just like throws you off. You're just like focusing and all of a sudden there's a DELANY.
I could definitely see how that could be the case. And also in the very beginning of this episode, when he first comes by, he's asking her what she's vacuum sealing. And I don't know, maybe it was just my interpretation of this scene, but you could see him coming from afar, and I thought he looked a little reluctant, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't bother Claire right now. But part of me wonders, is this the hand of production behind the scenes? Did they see DELANY walking by and say, hey, DELANY, come ask Claire what she's doing?
Yeah.
And I think that might be part of it as well.
I can definitely see that. Production likes to keep every episode having the same elements in it.
For sure. And as we see in part 2, they call in DELANY to virtually drop by. And there's a reason why they called DELANY instead of, say, Brad or Gabby, is because they wanted that DELANY-Claire interaction.
Which we'll see in that one. She loves that he visits.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we have another It's Alive. Brad makes Brussels sprout kimchi.
I feel like I watched this, and I feel like I've seen this comment before, of I've watched him make something, but I get to the end, and I have no idea how he made it.
Yeah, I think that is a fair comment. Good point.
I remember, like, funny things happening in it, but I don't remember, like, any of the, like, cooking instructions.
Yes, all I remember is him preparing the Brussels sprouts, and that's about all that I remember.
Yeah, about like cutting them into like quarters, but not all the way, and then like massaging in the good stuff. After that, nothing. Then he had kimchi.
Poof, magically kimchi. I do also remember that he put in some fish sauce because I was keeping an eye out for that. I was wondering if he would add fish sauce or not, and he did. So
that's why vegans can't often have kimchi.
Mm-hmm.
Secret fish sauce.
Secret fish sauce. I thought this looked good, though. I like kimchi. I like Brussels sprouts. But as I said a few minutes ago, I'm too afraid to ferment my own stuff. So this just made me add kimchi to my shopping list. So Hunzi brought a fan question to Brad, which is, how is the fermentation station doing in One World Trade Center?
Oh, this is the best. This is the best thing ever. Oh, God, I love Hunzi so much.
And we get reminded yet again of the baggie of egg yolk. What is happening with that egg yolk?
I love it because it's like, it was a quote-unquote vague question, but pointedly, we all know what they were referring to. And Hunzi pointed that out. And then Brad's like, yeah, things are either okay or bad or whatever. And then at the end, he's like, but that bag of eggs, nobody's eating that. That's just...
It's just an art piece now.
Yeah. We're like, okay. So we know for sure he's definitely never going to feed that to Chris Morocco.
I think that's wise.
Yeah. I feel like that's been like a mystery for a year, and now it's solved.
It has been, I believe, at least since April of 2019. So yeah. Mm-hmm. Whew. Oof. We never even saw the origin of those egg yolks, though. No. I'm still interested to know if there's any footage of him first creating that. Maybe not. They probably would have shown it by now. But my favorite part of this episode was the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire bit.
Oh my God. Yeah. I don't remember how the kimchi happened, but I remember that Brad had a whole long audition for Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Phone a friend. Ask Hunzi who invented the metric system.
The French.
the French, not a bad guy as Griff posed.
Yeah, this episode was pretty great.
It was really good.
Keep saying it was pretty great for those reasons. Do not know how to make kimchi.
Yeah, I don't think we should ever go to an It's Alive with the assumption that we'll learn how to make something.
Mm-hmm.
I also liked his dad Brad moment. It was kind of like a dad Brad tip where he was talking about how he moved the knives out of the way of his children because he didn't want an accident to happen.
Yeah.
And he says, whatever you were putting off, just do it. Now's the time. So thanks for the dad Brad tip.
I like that. I like that he acknowledges because he goes to like reach for them and they're not there. And he's like, oh, I moved them. And then the whole long story.
Yeah. And it's not an It's Alive anymore these days without Garla. So crush the garlic to appease Garla.
I love it. Forever. I'm just like, once we get back in the test kitchen, will we still see Garla?
I don't know. I'm hoping that maybe Garla is just a thing of maybe 2020 or maybe just of quarantine times.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be a bellwether for how Hunzi's mental health is doing.
Yeah. I feel like maybe like she'll disappear for a while, then like come back at Christmas.
The return of Garla. Can't wait to see what that honey pear ectoplasm slime is.
Ugh. Oh, Brad.
Oh, Brad. All right, the thrilling conclusion. Pastry chef attempts to make gourmet Choco Tacos Part 2 Gourmet Makes. I want to shout out our listener Margaret, who predicted that for Part 2 of Choco Tacos, Claire would freeze the ice cream in sheets and then cut them to shape. So you totally nailed it, Margaret. You were 100% right.
Way to go.
I guess Claire should have asked Margaret for advice instead of Chris.
Ooh.
So this one's interesting. We start at day 5 of the make, which I think is maybe the longest any make has gone to begin with. And it's 5 weeks later, and Claire is at home.
Something interesting that Claire brings up in this one and in the next one, the Pop-Tarts. She's like, oh my God, I'm so efficient at home. I don't know what it is. I'm doing this so fast. I'm doing 5 days of work in one day. And I'm just like, Claire, you're following your own recipe. Every time I just wanted to yell at the screen, I was like, yeah, because you're following a list that you previously made that you had to test, which took you 4 days to make. Come on, Claire.
Yes, she had done all the prep and all the work in advance of making it at home, for sure.
Yeah, she's like, look at me, I'm flying.
She did probably have fewer distractions. It was interesting that she said she felt she had to work smarter because of her limitations in terms of equipment and counter space and ingredients. So yeah, maybe this is the ideal environment for her to get really creative.
Maybe. I do agree that she has less distractions. I'd say probably from production.
Yes. That as well.
Dan throwing things at her. A lot of like resetting for camera angles and stuff.
Mm-hmm. And also, I figured she would only do one take of this at home because it seems like she's not going to do any more than one take because there's no one there to say, oh, it's not quite done yet, or how about you tweak this? And even though her fiance Harris does offer his input, I think we could have expected him to be like, oh, it's perfect. You nailed it.
Yeah.
They did look really good. I do think it was super smart to make the sheet and to cut out the wedges of ice cream in the semicircles to just sort of slide into the Choco Tacos. And I also thought it was smart that she dehydrated the shells using a spacer to keep the shells open. I think that was the approach she should have gone for from the beginning, like those crazy ass wind chimes that she made for the dehydrator in part 1. I thought to myself during part 1, that doesn't seem like it's going to work. And I thought maybe she could have used like toothpicks to prop up the shells on their side, to sort of cut down to size.
Yeah.
So the spacer made a lot of sense.
I think as to what she was saying about being in the test kitchen, it's like she has the pressure to go full out on any wacky gadget because she has the unlimited resources. Like she could just be like, oh, let's take, this funnel and, cut the end off of it or something, but she's not going to do that with her own equipment.
No, definitely not. I would say that in Gourmet Makes, she gets an idea. She gets her first idea about how to do something, and it might be totally wacky. And I think that's where her colleagues come in handy, because she has this goal in mind, and sometimes she only sees one way forward to that goal. Whereas if she can bounce ideas off of her peers, they often say, oh, well, if you're trying to accomplish A, why don't you do B instead? So there is a lot in the test kitchen that she doesn't have at home that could benefit her too. Yeah,
I think in a previous episode, Christina like did that to her of like, why are you making individual molds for something, you know, like.
Exactly. And yeah, as we mentioned previously, we do get some virtual drop-ins. So DELANY comes by and Claire says, what I wouldn't give to have you sneak up behind me.
See,
I thought that was really cute.
Other.
Yeah. Rhoda comes by, Christina comes by. I liked Christina's cameo because Claire asks her, do you want to see the Choco Tacos I made? And there's a pause, and then Christina says, not really.
No.
But only because she was sad that she couldn't eat them. She could only look at them. And more cameos by Maya and Felix, Claire's adorable, adorable cats.
Yeah, we shouldn't fat shame the cat.
Oh, poor Maya. Let's make those cats into stars.
The cats are stars.
But yeah, so this turned out well in the end. She was able to make a really good-looking Choco Taco. I thought they looked beautiful. I liked that she decided from the beginning to make them a little bit fatter, a little bit heftier.
Yeah.
Because who doesn't want more ice cream?
Yeah. They do have that crunch, so you can definitely, like, if it starts to get melty inside, it will explode, as it kind of did.
Yeah, I think that she pointed out that she kind of rushed the freezing just to sort of, you know, show the camera. But it sounded like they would have frozen up more if she had just left them in the freezer a little bit longer. So I think these were a good success overall.
Yeah. And we had a debate and special appearance in our own Twitter feed between Klondike and Drumsticks.
Yes, we've made it, guys. We're getting comments from the cool brands.
Oh my goodness. I do get kind of happy for brands when these episodes come out, because they're like, hey, look, it's us.
Look, people are talking about us.
Yeah.
And as we mentioned on Twitter, both Justine and I are team Drumsticks.
Yeah. Although I think came to the realization when she was putting it together, I was like, oh, Drumsticks and Choco Tacos are like the exact same thing, but in different form.
Yeah, but form factor is pretty important when it comes to food, because you could kind of say that about any food. It's really in the form factor, so yeah.
Except the Drumsticks, it's got that the caramel middle. Oh my god.
I love the caramel middle. And my favorite part of a drumstick is the bit of chocolate in the tip of the cone.
That
Best
chocolate
part.
was so good.
Best part, for sure.
Oh, team drumstick. I don't know. I've never had a Choco Taco. We didn't have them.
Yeah, the only Choco Taco I've had was actually, coincidentally, a homemade one from a vendor who made their own Choco Tacos. And it was super good. It was peanut butter. We've got even more, Claire. Our next video is Pastry Chef remakes gourmet Pop-Tarts at home. Gourmet remakes. So we were talking about this before. Yeah. Gourmet remakes. We can expect to see more of these. They put out the call for other recipes already. I really liked this, actually. So Claire says kind of the thesis statement for Gourmet remakes is to really, truly make something recreatable at home, something achievable for the home chef, minimal equipment, approachable equipment and ingredients. And she says, unlike Gourmet Makes, which creates stress for her, she sees this as something stress relieving and a fun project. So this is pretty interesting. And they flashed back to the original Pop-Tarts episode where Claire was talking about how she was really mindful about making this one recreatable at home, how she wanted to avoid the dehydrator because she realized in the process that it had actually been pretty approachable for the average cook up to that point. So I like this. And I'm wondering, are we going to see these recipes in her dessert person book or not, because they are obviously branded products?
I think they're first branded by whatever Kellogg or whoever, and then Bon Appétit is going to own this recipe. Probably.
But yeah, I really liked this video.
Yeah. Did the end make you cry? Like tear up?
No.
Just me then.
I did love the end, though. This was my favorite part of the video. I thought this video was a little bit long. I could have done with less of making Pop-Tarts yet again. We've seen it already. But I loved the end part of Claire reviewing everyone's videos. I was just thinking, how validating would it be if you were a fan and you got Claire on video saying, good job, or you're just too good at pastry.
Yeah.
How nice.
Yeah. No, yeah. The video in itself, I see it as two parts. And the first one, it's Claire like reacting to herself. And that's it's pretty cute to like go back. And I love how she's just like, if you saw our first time we made Pop-Tarts, and I'm like, yeah, like 2 million to 5 million people watch this video, Claire. Like,
yeah.
I think we've seen it.
It was funny to see her watching herself because she said before that she very seldom watches Gourmet Makes once it's produced.
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting to see her, I guess, kind of forced to sit down and watch it. But she nodded along a lot. But then she was very aghast at her own suggestion that she would be making these sprinkles all the time.
Yeah.
And she's just like, I haven't made those sprinkles once since doing that episode.
Well, she is a very, very busy person.
I just think it's funny to see her commenting on her past self. And
yeah,
she's also kind of berating her past self for insisting on making the strawberry filling because she's like, yeah, why aren't I just using a nice store-bought strawberry jam? I think she would have liked to have taken that shortcut.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to maybe change the future of Gourmet Makes, which I think is something that we've been looking for since it's been getting kind of repetitive, and what the producers tend to lean into is the pain and the drama aspect of it. But now if Claire is thinking about the accessibility, and especially when she talked about, she's like, oh, I didn't even think about how others don't even have access to strawberries. She's like, that gives her something totally to think about of people actually making these recipes instead of just making a perfect recreation.
Absolutely. That's what I really liked about this video is finally, after watching this video, I do think that this is an approachable recipe. So I saw when the submission went out, when they asked people to recreate Claire's Pop-Tarts, record your journey, send it along to us. And I considered for a second, oh, do I want to participate in this? But I'd watched the Pop-Tarts Gourmet Makes, obviously, and I was like, that is way too much work. I am not going to do that. And I did check out the pared down at home recipe that they had put online. And even just looking at that recipe, I felt still that it was a lot of work. And ultimately I decided, I don't want to do this. Finally, after this video, I'm like, okay, maybe I would make these. They still seem like a bit fiddly. And as one of the fans who called in said, this is definitely a 2-day project. Don't try to do it all in one day. You'll kill yourself. And I think that that is probably true for most home chefs. But yeah, if all these people can make it and seem to have fun with it, then maybe I'll try it. But also, as I've said on the podcast before, I like having made something. I don't know if a 2-day cooking project sounds like fun to me. But I don't know.
Margaret again pointed out one of the gentlemen from the end of the video who made the Pop-Tarts turned out to be the winner of the 2018 Great Danish Bake Off.
Oh, really? She is very into the food space. She knows a lot about food. That's a cool little trivia I did not know. Yeah, the fan submissions were by far my favorite part of this video. As they mentioned, they expected maybe a few dozen, maybe 50 submissions, but then they got over 900. I mean, I feel like we could have told them that, right?
Yeah.
There's no way they were getting only 50 submissions. But
yeah,
I liked that they included so many international viewers, people of all ages. We had some pretty cute little kids in there.
Yeah, a whole range. Oh, yeah, I'm excited for the next one. Hot Pockets. Is it?
I think that was the next one they put out a call for, yeah.
Hot Pockets. If they do the Totino's pizza rolls.
Yeah, you will have to enter that one for sure.
Oh, boy.
And finally, we are going to talk about pro chefs make 8 different freezer meals, test kitchen talks at home.
Yeah, I love Gabby immediately being like, I'm the only one who did everything from my pantry. I know I'm going to be the only one doing everything from my freezer.
You know what? I appreciated that too, because a lot of these recipes in this video had one frozen ingredient.
Yeah.
Or maybe two. A lot of these meals I would not call freezer meals.
Yeah, like watching Chase, like halfway through, I was like, what is from the freezer?
Exactly. The shrimp, I guess. And maybe the fish. Also, Rick's had the frozen chorizo, but I believe literally everything else was not from the freezer.
Yeah. Guys, come on.
Come on.
What is this?
I really liked Sola's. I like hot dogs and tortillas, and I'm honestly surprised that I don't have some in my freezer right now.
Wow. I do love them showing you what you can keep in your freezer. Although I do feel like, I'm like, these people have much bigger freezers than I do.
Yes, for sure. My freezer is pretty small as well.
Yeah, which I just keep, my frozen foods, things that have to be frozen. Although now I am starting to keep my fresh ginger in there, and it's amazing. It's so much easier to grate.
You are treating your freezer like a pantry, as they say.
Yay, I'm doing it.
My favorite part of this video was Garla, but I guess more specifically Cosmo.
Oh, God.
Cosmo's D&D character who is named Turtle Master, apparently.
Master. Amazing. And then he got shy. Oh.
That was so cute. He didn't answer what class he was playing. I'm interested to know what class he is. I'm going to guess mage. That's my guess. Maybe Cosmo can confirm. And production said that he's definitely chaotic good, which I agree with. Okay, I have a question for Bon Appetit, though. What is with Bon Appetit and this concept of leftover wine? Because Garla says, just freeze your leftover wine. And Bon Appetit recently had an article about freezing your half-finished glasses of wine in ice cube trays. And I just want to meet these people and ask them, why? Why aren't you drinking all your wine? I don't understand.
You're just like leaving 2 sips in it. You're like, no, I can't.
I couldn't possibly. I'll just pour this into a single ice cube mold and save it for later.
And it's just like the dregs of the wine. No.
Ugh. No, thank you.
I like that comment from you. You're just like, what leftover wine?
This is a concept I do not understand. I liked Andy's peas over toast. It just kind of seemed like, it was like fancy creamed peas. And I love creamed peas.
Yeah, there's a recipe I've been looking at for a long while, which is like lentils over toast that is very similar. It's on the BA site. Yeah, I'm like, I would make that for sure. That looks good.
Absolutely.
Emil's was fun.
I thought that looked really good. It was like a very decadent, very big breakfast sandwich.
Yes. Very meaty, very cheesy.
Like a really fancy McGriddle or something.
Yeah. Although Gabby's recipe stayed very true to the brief, I was like, I don't know if I did
Okay, I'm glad you said it, not me, because that was my exact thought. I thought, well, maybe Gabby should have cheated a little because this honestly seems a little bland, a little boring, maybe.
Yeah.
Not much to zhuzh it up.
Yeah, because frozen veggies can just, I don't know.
They lack a little bit of taste and a little bit of texture compared to fresh veggies. They're certainly not adding a bunch of flavor to that vegetable ramen.
Yeah, sorry, Gabby. Love you. Love you forever.
Yeah.
You did great.
Good job on following the brief and not cheating. I do definitely appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I thought Christina's chowder sounded great. It looked great. But just the name freezer chowder, that just sounds not good. I don't know. Something about just associating stuff with the freezer. The first thing I think of is freezer burn. I don't know. Yep. Like calling anything freezer whatever, I'm immediately not interested in it.
No. Yeah, no, her chowder looked great.
That stock that she made sounded really complex and delicious.
Yeah. I would say, I'm like, you just made chowder. It's not freezer chowder. It's like, you didn't go out of your way. No, it's just chowder.
Just chowder, yeah. I guess this is what happens when production forces them to name their recipe kind of on the spot.
Yeah.
They got to think of the name organically, like Brad does. He has to get to know the dish first.
Oh gosh, yeah, Brad could made so much. He's got that extra freezer down in his dungeon.
Oh yeah, huge freezer. They should have had him in this video. He probably has the most freezer stuff out of anyone.
Although I do like that this, I don't know, this is kind of like the B team.
Oh no, I guess you're right. I'm looking at the list of people now. Oh no.
They are great people. We love them, but like when they split up who does what, this is not the, I don't know. These are not the people with the most Instagram followers is what I'm going to say.
Yeah, they should always have Brad and Claire in different videos. That way they can get the most views because they're the most popular, socially speaking.
Yes, they're not picking favorites. I'm not saying any of these people aren't good. I'm just saying statistically, mathematically.
Yep, just looking at follower count, looking at engagement. Claire and Brad are the darlings of Bon Appetit. But you guys knew that already.
Yeah. That's why you're here. Because you know everything about Bon Appetit. That went off.
That's good.
So to end this episode.
So that's it. Goodbye.
Leave a like.
All right, we've reached the end of our videos for this episode. Justine, what was your favorite video and which recipe are you most likely to make?
Oh my goodness. We've been doing this for like almost a year and I forgot I had to do that. Quarantine messes with your mind, man.
It's true. Do you want me to go?
No, I think I can do it. Well, I think I really liked the Choco Tacos part 1. Like, as a well-edited... I didn't even mention it. I thought the editing in that was, like, so good. Like, they were doing something to, like... I don't know. It was different. It felt refreshing. It felt nicely paced. Like I said, like it wasn't fake drama. I don't know. It was just good television.
Must watch TV.
Yeah. Now I have to think about what I would make real quick because there's not a lot of food.
There's not a single recipe video in this batch.
Yeah. I think what I would make would be what Andy did for his freezer meals. The peas on the toast. I don't know. It looked really good. And I think
look really good.
Be easy to substitute and make it vegan.
Nice. I think my favorite, this isn't going to be surprising, was Brad makes Brussels sprouts kimchi.
That was so good as well.
It was really funny. I always love It's Live. Between the two It's Live videos, this one was more upbeat, in my opinion, a little bit funnier. And I guess the recipe I'd be most likely to make is maybe Sola's grilled cheese. She used Munster cheese and dates and battered them, so it was kind of like a Monte Cristo, and I love Monte Cristos, so I would be tempted to try this one. And I've been making a lot of grilled cheeses anyway these days, so maybe mix it up a bit.
Yeah, but definitely interesting that there's no Bon Appetit recipes in the past 2 weeks.
Not at all. Yeah, it's interesting to see how these 2-week segments compare, because on our last episode there were a ton of recipe videos, and then we have 0 in this one.
Yeah, it's interesting.
All right, we've reached the part of the episode where we want to thank you all for listening and for reaching out to us on social media, leaving your comments. We love hearing from you guys. Bonsai Retro Club podcast said that they've been working on perfecting their grilled cheese technique, and they are now very curious to try mayo, just like you, Justine. Mrs. Casper says we got her through a fridge and freezer deep clean. And she also said full fridge, full heart. I thought that was cute. We apparently also helped Nat get through her afternoon. Katie from Thank Fucking God It's Friday podcast kind of kicked off our Drumsticks versus Choco Tacos debate on Twitter. She is also in the Drumsticks camp. And Mary B. Poppin weighed in on the Drumsticks versus Choco Tacos debate and said that drumsticks are divine. And we agree. Thanks again to Margaret for everything, for all your comments. We mentioned some earlier in the episode. And also Margaret has opinions about freezing butter.
Opinions.
And finally, thanks again to Jennifer Baptista for writing in all the way from Portugal. It's really exciting to hear that we have listeners across the globe. That's really exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And we got a review. Thank you so much to everyone who has rated and reviewed us on Apple Podcasts. This review comes from I'm a Nerd 2024. 5 stars, new favorite podcast. I love this podcast, and I have a suggestion. Maybe you could switch it up and read some Bon Appetit fanfiction, because trust me, there is a lot. Well, I'm a Nerd 2024. I believe you when you say there's a lot of fanfic. So thank you for the review and for the fun suggestion, but I'd say fanfic is a little out of the scope of our podcast, but we really appreciate the input. And hey, you could always make your own podcast that's reading Bon Appetit fanfic if that's your thing.
That's right.
And if you want to leave us a review, dear listener, please do so. Just go to Apple Podcasts, leave us a positive rating and review, and we will shout you out right here in the episode. And stay tuned next week. We are having a side dish episode. It's been a little while. So next Monday, we present Amanda Makes Claire's Granola Cluster Cookies. So if you missed her this week like we all did, you can tune in next week and hear Amanda's lovely voice.
And you have to listen to this episode because...
Emphasis on cluster.
Oh, God, it's amazing. I'm sorry. I was laughing while I was editing it because anything that could go wrong does go wrong. Oh, it's beautiful. I'm sorry, Amanda. I love you.
Yeah, so don't miss it.
Thanks for listening to Pod Appétit, a Bon Appétit fancast.
We'd love to hear from you, so find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest at pod_appetit.
And on Facebook at Pod Appétit Podcast.
You can also email us at podappetitpodcast@gmail.com and find all of our episodes on our website, podappetitpodcast.com.
Until next time, the test kitchen is closed.
Do you hate Brett Kavanaugh, love Michelle Obama, and have complicated feelings about Joe Biden?
Are you a liberal feminist looking for like-minded women to relate to, or conservative human looking to hear the other side? Look no further.
Check out Feminists Without Mystique, a podcast where we process politics, sex, and the unrelenting fire hose of bullshit in the news. New episodes released every Wednesday.